In the big bilge tank.
We'll keep you in the know.
In the big bilge tank.
We'll fix your techie woes and we'll break things and we'll make things till we're all together raking and
We'll raise a cup of grog down in the big bilge tank. In the big bilge tank. Come and join our pirate crew. In the big bilge tank.
We will show you what to do.
and we'll hack it till we crack it and we'll tell the world about it and forget to tidy up.
That's why it's now a bilge tank.
Hello and welcome to episode 026 of the Bilge Tank, live from Sheffield on Sea.
Hi.
Stormy waters out there today,
Hi.
chaps.
Yeah. We should do cam shake one week.
well, like this. It's like, yeah, we've been breached. Today we'll be playing Bilge Tank Bingo. So I hope you, I think Andy could link this in the chat. Can you do links in the chat?
No, not unless they're links to our stuff.
Anyway, there was a tweet this week and put together this brilliant Bilge Tank Bingo.
Just
which
scarily accurate.
Yeah, but well, we'll see how accurate it is, shall we? Let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so just looking at this, and obviously we don't want to trigger anything, I think that's probably the end of the show.
We can say siren in the background without triggering a siren in the background, can't we?
Yeah, first person to call an accurate bingo gets a pi zero.
Ooh!
So there's one for the line,
there
one
we
for
go.
a line, and there's one for a whole sheet.
Yeah, so if you have the bingo sheet, and we'll do this again another week when you've got more time to prepare, but you have to get a full row, or diagonal, I think.
Diagonal is fine,
Full diagonal, four
First
boxes
person to get the row,
in a row,
the line.
and pi zero to whoever gets bingo first.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So that's kind of cool. I don't think we haven't got any news this week because we can't talk about
We got little
crowdfunded
tidbits.
projects.
Yeah. Crowdfunded projects are kind of verboten for this week.
Yep.
Although
Other crowdfunding sites are available.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
worth mentioning.
But the Pi Weekly newsletter that Ben Nuttall did has now become the official Raspberry Pi newsletter.
It has.
Email thingy majig. We also decided to brighten up this week, so we're wearing very primary t-shirts.
And I'm
Primary yellow,
in my grey. as
primary
always.
cyan, and
A little flash of red.
we're kind of print process colours. Yeah. CYK. And you're the K.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, in that case, we are going to. We can't do any picture in picture this week either.
Oh, do picture in picture, yes.
This is going to be a struggle.
Oh.
Okay. Do you want to basically?
We've taken off Pi Zero already.
Oh. Cock. Okay.
Hey!
I mean, fiddlesticks. We're going to just show you some stuff that we've been working on this week. It's been quite nice because the team downstairs have basically borne the brunt of, we've already said it, the Pi Zero this week. So we've actually had some time to work on some software, work on some hardware, work on some design, work on all sorts of things.
So this week I think we got Pi Zeros, Adafruit got Pi Zeros, and
Pi
Hut got Pi Zeros.
I think there was some in Micro Center as well, but I'm not sure if that was a new batch. But I
Yeah.
heard about them being available. So.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Phil?
It's a wrong size HDMI connector. Unless the HDMI is the other side, it is that size. No, that's DisplayPort. We don't need the
what are you
pointy
doing,
down camera, but we do need the screen feed from the thing.
Screen feed from the tablet.
So I was thinking.
You mean this one here?
You mean that one right there?
I'm going to cry now.
Should we have the pointed down camera back?
Yeah.
We do need it for something in a minute.
Can we point it at your face just to show you're ashamed?
Face of shame.
Trying to
Shame
solve
face.
problems that don't exist again. It's the
Okay.
developer's life.
Oh, we just said close-up camera.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh man.
this is looking good. I'm looking forward to that Pi Zero. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So Phil's been working on the. Let me get my stuff out of the way. Phil's been working on some new firmware for the PiCade controller board, which is pretty darned awesome. So do you want to bring that up?
It's one of the things we kind of promised when the new PiCade PCB went out into the world, and we said that at some point we would make a firmware that's configurable on the fly, so you don't have to worry about downloading the source, putting in new key bindings, recompiling it, and re-uploading it to your PiCade to change simple things like maybe you want this key to be ESC or this key to do something else, or you want to rebind the volume buttons to be keys and not volume buttons because you don't care about volume, you're doing something else with it.
But this is essentially a way to do that without having to
The way
reprogram
to
the
do
firmware.
that without having to reprogram the firmware on the fly over serial, and it will give you a little help screen that you should be able to see here.
Let's have a little picture-in-picture hiccup right now. Can we make that bigger, Paul?
No.
Bigger.
Can't we?
People can squint.
It can go full cut. What have you done?
Oh, you mean
Just go
bigger,
full
bigger.
screen.
Yeah.
Bigger,
That's
bigger.
not picture in picture. That's just
Big
basic.
brain.
Well, now there's the hiccup. Because now we've got
I'm
two
still
of them
not
at different
convinced.
sizes. And just our hands. Why have we even got the close-up camera on? I don't know. Anyway,
Show the PiCade controller.
hold on a second. I just go across that one.
We just made it
believe
larger.
that it works.
I dispute that. I dispute that
Looking good.
strongly. What was that?
You can't win.
Right.
Picture,
Okay.
picture,
Oh, is this so we can see
picture,
film
quantum
manipulating?
hiccup.
Yeah.
Super. Right. I'll move this up a
Like
little bit
sweet
then.
button manipulation.
So, what do we want to look at here, Phil?
John's looking there at the help menu of the built-in firmware you talk to over serial. And
pretty
it gives
cool.
you this ridiculously long dump telling you all the numbers that correspond to each individual button on the PiCade and all the possible things you can bind them to. So you can bind them to
So
both.
sorry. So at the top we're seeing the actual current mapping. Is that right?
At the top, you don't see the current mapping at the moment, although that could be potentially useful. What you see is the available options or the available commands, which is bind a single button, bind a whole string of buttons, which is useful if you're writing a library that loads configs in on the fly.
Oh right. Okay. Yeah.
Dump all the buttons that are currently bound, which is great if you come up with a config that you really like and want to save that somewhere to
And
a
does
library.
that dump it in the same format that you would use to bind it?
Yes.
Brilliant.
So
So
you
you
get
just
A
slip it
followed
out
by
and then push it
numbers,
back
and then
in.
you can paste
Cool.
it back in. Save saves it to the EEPROM on the PiCade. So if you set up a config you really like, you can save that, and then the next time you plug your PiCade in, that's what it'll use. So that can be either keyboard keys or gamepad buttons, or a mix of both.
Nice.
So you can have up, down, left, right, and 6 buttons on your gamepad, and then you can have some of the keys be ESC or return or enter or anything you might need to escape from an emulator or do something else in RetroPie that may not be triggered by a gamepad. So this table below is the actual buttons. So it says button should
I
be
see.
joy up would be 0. So the joystick up on your PiCade is your button 0, and then so on. And then the things that you can bind
Just
to.
before you move on, I noticed you got Mozzie Miso Nest Clock, so you can actually use the
I've-
GPIOs
yes,
on the JTAG header.
I've made
That's
available
cute.
3 extra pins for people who like to customise. So if you want to cut
Wicked.
3 extra holes in this and put extra buttons on, or make it an 8-button controller on the top, or just do something interesting with it, then you've got those 3 extra pins, which we'll have to release a pin out of, because 1 pin's reset. If you connect a button to that, you're going to have a bad time.
Well,
One-
only one.
1 pin's 5 volt. If you connect a button to that, it's going to behave rather like reset, but in a less official way. And 1 pin is ground. If you connect a button to that, absolutely nothing will happen. So
Cool.
you've got 2 ways of resetting your PiCade and 1 way of making nothing happen, and 3 valid buttons that are on that 6-pin header on the board. So all of the...
Do you just want to pop open the back and I'll have a look at the PiCade PCB?
You can actually
for
see the
people who haven't
6-pin
seen
header
it.
in there. Easier said than done.
Oh, it's well buried. Oh, it's one of the old ones as well in pink. They're in blue now, aren't they? We can go grab one. Give me a sec. I think I've got one on my
There
desk.
is one on my desk as well, actually, I believe. Ooh. That closed rather abruptly. So in this little window, this is Putty talking over serial to the PiCade, and this is a menu that PiCade's actually outputs. And all of these numbers down here are the various different things you can assign a button on the PiCade to do. There we go.
So this is the PiCade driver PCB. which is
6-pin header is that one there.
Yeah, it's basically the programming header we use to get the firmware on there. But once it's burnt, you can use it for other stuff. So.
Burnt is burnt, yeah. You can
Yeah.
use 3 of those pins for extra buttons or switches or whatever it is you want to connect for bonus PiCade modding features.
So yeah, basically the PiCade PCB is designed to be a kind of generic arcade controller PCB. It appears just like a keyboard to the computer.
Now appears just like a keyboard and a gamepad.
Well, that's the next bit, isn't it? That's the next exciting bit of news. And it has a little amplifier on there that can drive a couple of 4-ohm speakers at 3 watts. This is pretty cool software then. Pretty nice firmware update.
It is. It's basically represents what we really wanted it to do in the first place. But didn't
So
have
Alex
the
Cruzen
time
is asking,
to-
will this work with the PiCade PCB from the Kickstarter?
There is no reason why not. I'll have to change some config file bindings and make sure that it maps to the right pins, but there's no reason why not. I.e., if we make it work with the Kickstarter edition, it'll work with the Kickstarter edition.
The
And I've
big,
done that with
the big difference
yeah.
between the new PiCade driver board and the Kickstarter one is the Kickstarter one had the IOs banked, so it does bank switching to select each block. So it uses basically on the new PiCade driver board, everything's kind of referenced to ground. Each of the inputs just gets pulled to ground when you activate a switch or whatever, and that's how it detects that there's a press. With the Kickstarter one, it actually samples each bank individually and has a separate pin providing the reference. So it is quite different, but we might be able to get that to work. Or just get one of the new shiny boards.
Firmware to work before, I'm sure.
Well,
I had one of the old.
I could have sworn it was like that though.
Maybe it was in a very early edition.
Perhaps
but
I'm
not
going
in the
crazy.
Final Kickstarter edition.
Maybe. We shall find out.
We shall find out.
Oh, Andy, good point.
Ah.
We try so hard as well.
Hi, Andy. Nice to see you in the chat there. Right, next.
This stuff is great if you want to go through and kind of manually tweak your bindings through serial, but we'll come up with some either Python libraries or GUI applications that will give you a nice interface for setting up your PiCade bindings exactly as you would like them, because doing this can be extremely painful, as you can see from the huge tables of various different numbers and letters and keys and whatnot that you can bind. He's loaded the gamepad binding.
Sorry,
so
I'm
it's
playing.
all
I haven't
one-
seen this before,
one
so it's
character
kind of cool.
command. This will probably not
No,
work
keyboard.
on very well at all, actually.
You've
I should see, because you won't be able to type
What did I
fast
do?
enough.
you've mentioned Adafruit.
Did I?
I mentioned Adafruit.
Did you?
You have
Stop
now.
it,
Yeah,
Zero.
no. Oh, yeah.
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 We're
Just
one
saying.
away. One away here.
So let's load the
Right.
gamepad binding.
Bingo.
Bring up the gamepad.
Andy,
binding.
I require proof of that.
Yep.
I don't think there's been a bingo yet. If you get bingo, you have to name the 4 squares. You have to write them out, comma separated in the chat. It was this one, this one, this one, this one. What are you doing, Phil?
I'm pressing buttons.
Oh. So this is basically now Windows sees this as a gamepad controller.
It does. It sees
That's
it.
really sweet.
It always sees it simultaneously as a keyboard and a gamepad.
Yeah.
But unless you bind a particular key or button or direction to be a gamepad action, then the gamepad will sit there and do nothing. It's the same with the keyboard. Unless you bind a specific action to it, it'll sit there and do nothing. So it's always there for kind of command hot swapping. And if it's useful or practical in emulators, then it could be interesting to see when an emulator fires up and actually hot swap out a different set of bindings for it. So if we've had people with the N64, for example, who couldn't get the controls to work in the N64 emulator because it appears at face value to support only a HID gamepad or a joystick.
Right.
So this could load in your HID joystick profile, or you could just bind it as HID joystick anyway. And
Nice.
hopefully get people up and running on the N64.
Super cute.
Things like that.
And we did mention it, and James has confirmed. So I think
There you go.
I think Andy's probably got the bingo. When did we say Twitter? I just
He's got a
announced
line.
the game over. That's bingo, isn't it?
That's
how
the
it
line.
works. Oh, what's bingo?
This whole card.
We're not going to do that. He's never going to. It's over, man. It's over.
We'll see, you know.
All right.
Do you have to get the whole card?
I don't know. I thought it was. I think that counts.
I think you're confusing bingo with blockbusters or something.
Drop us an email, Andy. Right. That's really cool, Phil. Is there anything else you want to have a quick look at on here? Or so this will make PiCade way more flexible, more compatible with different emulators, and just easier to configure generally.
Easier for
And people can
who
share profiles
don't
and
want
stuff.
to fuss about with recompiling firmware and re-uploading firmware to actually build projects that use PiCade for something possibly completely tangential to what we're using it for at the moment. So if you want to take a PiCade board and make it work with something else, like vMix, for example, then you've got the ability to bind your F keys.
So yeah, we should totally do that.
Yep.
To avert all those picture-in-picture glitches.
Just big PiCade fist buttons. We can't go wrong.
Well, if I'm not here, you need something simple and accessible.
Yeah, absolutely. Just something we can mash our face against. Well, but,
Right, that's brilliant.
That's very, very cool. Nice job, man. Nice job. So, is that firmware available now?
Not right now, no.
Very soon.
I'm putting the finishing touches on it, a sprinkle of fairy magic, and then it'll be good to go.
Brilliant.
Right.
Cool.
What's been on your desk, John?
I've got 2 things. First, a lot of people ask about Zero Lipo.
Yep.
So I thought we'd show off the new prototype because it's changed a lot since last time we had it on. So I don't know if you want to hold it into the camera. I think this is going to be basically the production one. We're just working on a test jig for it now because there we go. We have to make sure, obviously, that the test jig triggers all of the various situations that LiPo batteries can get into, so that we know it operates,
Including exploding?
safely, apart from the exploding one. So it's a relatively complex test jig. It needs to do things like put a specific amount of load on the port. It needs to ramp the voltage up and down and make sure that the various triggers happen when they're meant to happen, and also make sure that quiescent current isn't higher than we expect it to be, because obviously there's going to be some draw, but it should be extremely small microamps. Thanks, Andy. We will bear that in mind. So yeah, it's very cool, but it's going to be rated for 2 amps, which the previous version was lower power.
Yep.
It has a little GPIO warning, so basically when the battery drops below 3.6 volts, it will pull a pin high on the GPIO, which is BCM4, so that you can then have your Pi shut itself down cleanly. And the profile of the board is very specifically designed to sit down flush onto the Pi's GPIO header. You wouldn't normally solder a header on like this, so you could. Yeah, it's actually designed to slide straight onto the GPIO and be soldered directly to the Pi.
So you should end up with a thin sandwich, and then you can put a hat on top of it,
Then
or
you
whatever.
yeah, exactly. The PCB will be 0.8mm. That's actually 1.6, but the production ones will be 0.8. So it'll be very, very slim, and it just means you'll have a nice little Lipo port sticking out the back of your Pi, ready for a battery to be plugged in.
Yeah.
There is no charge circuit on this because a lot of people ask that. It is just a power circuit.
We're trying to make it rock solid but affordable.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think is the key there.
So yeah, this is basically the final version. It's been working well in kind of testing on the bench, but we need to finish off the test jig so that we can prove we can test them reliably and repeatably.
Yep.
And that's it. So yeah, coming soon. And then if you saw us on Twitter, we just tweeted a picture a moment ago. Where's Chrome?
We have now mentioned Twitter.
Yeah, well, we had before. We knew we had. It's all good.
It's a premonition.
This is a new product that we've been working on for a little while, which we're kind of keen on. But it's a system for driving APA 102s. So these are like the slightly better pixels, like WS2812 pixels or whatever.
Yep.
Or they're sometimes known as neopixels or dot stars, depending on who the vendor is.
They're kind of like super neopixels, aren't they?
These
the vendor
are,
calls
yeah.
them dot star, but
Yeah. That's it.
APA 102 is the code you're looking for.
It's the actual product, the actual part number. But we know that a lot of people like using these things, like using these kind of multicolour LEDs. But the flexible strips are a pain to solder to.
Yeah,
Quite
there's kind
delicate.
of 4 pins, and sometimes they're surface mount, and they're just a pain.
Very easy to lift the pads
Yeah.
on the flexible stuff. And the non-flexible stuff is also tends to be kind of these little SMD pads, so you can connect them together, join them together, and they're quite fiddly to work with. So we thought people might like an option that's a lot easier to do, something that's, you know, it's slightly less flexible, but it gives you a much easier way to set this kind of stuff up. And the other thing is they're all rigid PCB, so they've got mounting holes in them. You can mount them into furniture, behind your TV. You know, there's all sorts of options where you put these things.
Yep.
And they're all driven via a little USB serial host. So you essentially just plug this into your PC. You start sending serial commands to it, which is done through our Python library, or you can write your own libraries. And they're really, really easy to work with. We're going to write a Hyperion driver for it. We're going to write a Boblite driver for it. And we've also got a FAT coming, a moat FAT. So there's going to be kind of a range of this moat stuff. What Phil's holding there are the 16 pixel strips.
Yeah.
So these are kind of long,
Show the back of one.
long sticks, like so. Where are we? APA 102. We also have little 8 pixel strips, little 4x4 grids. So they're going to be kind of handy for building into projects. Personally, I'm looking forward to doing kind of like customizing furniture, shelving units and stuff like that under cabinets.
I mean, the idea is they're pretty, again, bulletproof to set up and hook up. No soldering, and just plug and play.
Yeah,
Plug and play. That's what it's all about.
These are actually flotilla ropes that we've got it connected up with. That's another one on the card.
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing custom cables for these. So the PCBs will obviously be black for production, and the cabling will be black as well. Slightly higher current cabling, because we're going to go up to 2 meters on the cable, which will make life a bit easier, make it a bit more flexible for mounting. They'll be great for mounting behind a TV, so that you can do like your reactive lighting style effects.
Yep.
And things like that. But yeah, it's definitely, this is a system we're going to put quite a lot of kind of time and energy into, because I think there's a lot of people clamouring for something like this, just making it that bit easier to work with.
Looking at the way people are reacting to Flotilla, Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
People want something they can just get on with. Especially, I think it's when you come from a software background as well.
Yeah.
You want something that just plugs like this and then off you go, and you can't get things wrong. The other thing with APA 102, which as you can see here, is they're good for persistence and vision effects. The NeoPixels are actually quite bad for that, but the APA 102 have this really fast update rate.
Yeah. We have a really terrible demo that doesn't work very well on the camera, but let's give it a go.
Yeah.
Just one other thing is that these. Oh no, we switched camera. Okay. Quick.
Oh, you got the main camera there as well. We've got all the cameras.
So this basically it has 4 motor ports on the top. It has 1 USB host port. It also has a second micro B USB, which is designed for injecting more power. So these are quite dim at the moment, and the reason is that I've only got the micro B for the host connected. So they'll naturally limit themselves to about 500 milliamps. The system will basically knock the power back. If I plug in another power supply, so I give it a nice 2 amp power supply, you see they immediately brighten up. There you go. Boom. So they've now gone full brightness. But that means that you can kind of take them to your desk, just plug it into your laptop or PC without that second power supply, and then they won't actually blind you if you're looking at them while you're developing your project or just toying around with them, really.
Yeah.
But it's dead handy to be able to do that. Just makes life a little bit easier.
Are you going to do the camera thing?
Yeah, we're going to
Is
give
it
it a go.
work?
Let me pull out the sticks we don't need. Just a bit more flexible. Let's go
Live
on
demos.
demo. I'm going to leave it in bright mode. Let's see what happens. So we've got a little persistence of vision script. So you should be able to see there that this is basically rendering. This is basically rendering a graphic currently, but I need to move the stick for it to have any effect. The camera looks way brighter. Oh yeah, kill the lights, Phil.
Kill the
I'm
lights!
going to move it back. Let's see if we can get something out of this. It's a bit tricky to do on live video, but there you go. You kind of see our logo. Himmalani. Whoosh. So it's pretty cute for that kind of thing. Hey, that looks alright.
Light
Actually, it's a
painting.
bit sticky, isn't it? But
Just a
you know,
little fast.
Yeah.
little fast. There's no accelerometer on here, so it's basically me moving my hand at the right speed, and it could do with slightly longer exposure, but it's kind of fun. And if you spend a bit of time with a decent camera and kind of get your settings right, do you want to picture the other one, Paul? Because you can kind of see the difference. It's all about getting your exposure time right, as you can see.
That's beautiful.
That's kind of fun. So I'll do some nice graphics to go with the light. Oh, that's blimey. Just looked at that. Let's bring the lights back.
Yeah. Thank you, Mood Phil.
Say what?
Phil there was doing the mood lighting, kind of horror movie. Yeah.
Lighting engineer.
So yeah, simple sticks of colour. Beautiful. Jarl was asking, is that kind of a flotilla hub? Not in so many words, no.
Sorry, this?
Yeah.
It uses the same chip, but no, it's not.
No, they're not cross-compatible or anything. They are using the same basic building blocks, I suppose, but for different purposes.
Well,
So they have a different little icon instead of the anchor, and the cables will have a little moat icon instead of an anchor. Just so you know what you're doing.
Well, the flotilla will speak I2C to each individual peripheral, where this outputs the APA 102 protocol directly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just a data and clock line.
So you,
specific
theoretically,
to
if you
those.
have
It's very
to
like an SPI signal.
right adapter cable or anything, you could plug any APA 102 pixels into that if
Yeah.
you're so inclined.
We will do a little breakout to then break the pins out so that you could then connect it onto like flexible strips and stuff.
Yeah,
If you just want the
reels.
USB serial kind of control aspect of it. There's a lot of stuff coming. We've got a little FAT coming for this. I'm thinking at the moment, I'm wondering about making this USB port multi-purpose. So basically, if it doesn't detect a USB host, you could have like a little Bluetooth thing plugged into there. Not a USB dongle, but like a separate breakout board that just talks USB serial over it. Talks serial over it.
Yeah.
And the chip will actually just say, well, I haven't got a USB host, so I'm going to talk serial instead. Or even something that's like an IR sensor, or just some switches, so you can change transitions or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's something we're playing with. We'll probably do a bigger version of this host with a barrel jack on it and 8 ports. So there'll be kind of, the system will extend over time.
Yep.
But for now, this is what we're going to be launching with in probably about 4 or 5 weeks' time, once we get the production PCBs.
Yep.
So it's kind of fun.
Fantastic. So is that just about everything we've got?
I think that's just about everything we've got today.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go then. If only we had more projects or hacks to show.
If only. Then we could update them about them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yar.
Perhaps we should work on a USB hub or.
You mean that isn't a USB hub?
Yeah. I don't know.
I kind of.
Oh no!
I'm
I
right.
actually have got an interesting one. This time around with Pi Zero, we actually made a change to our shop so you couldn't order more than one.
Yeah.
So it didn't mean we had to cancel any multiple Pi Zero orders.
Not in a single order, no. We still
No.
have people trying to scalp.
That
Yeah.
always happens. Brilliant.
Take it to the
Yeah.
letter rather than the
Still,
spirit.
the shipping went smoothly, so
We're about caught up now, aren't we?
I think we're about caught up.
Yep. And don't forget to tune in next week.
Oh, like
Subscribe.
Comment.
and comment. Bingo! 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 Bingo!
So bingo.
See you next week, guys.
Until next week.